Thank you very much. The monkey always likes it. The monkey always likes it. Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Tony Gangi, and I'm the owner of Great American Street Organ. And in addition to doing magic and other things, I have a love of the traditional hand-crank street organ. When I was growing up, my father, who was Sicilian, had a music box, and it was an organ grinder. It was a little organ grinder, and he would turn his organ and it would play tunes. And I think that's where my love of the instrument came from. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to play some music. We're going to go through the history and really talk about how this got started, what it was used for, and what its original origins are. So if you have questions, really informal, just let me know. I'm happy to stop and chat about it. And like I said, we'll be playing music throughout as well, and doing some rounds of Name That Tune. So, no more monkey business. A brief history of the organ grinder and the hand-cranked street organ with musical accompaniment. Early origins. So we're going to start in the medieval period. The earliest versions of the hand-cranked street organ can be traced back to medieval Europe, where they were developed for mechanical musical instruments, such as the hurdy-gurdy, organistrum, and the pipe organ. These instruments were often played by itinerant musicians in streets, squares, and markets. Now, the organistrum, also known as the symphonia or the medieval hurdy-gurdy, was a larger and more complex instrument that actually predated the hurdy-gurdy itself. It featured multiple strings and a keyboard-like mechanism for pressing the strings against the wheel. The organistrum was primarily used in religious settings during the Middle Ages, but may have influenced the development of the street organ. And it was a large instrument. It was a really large instrument. It really, it may have seen time on the streets, but it was too large and cumbersome to really carry around per se. Then you have the hurdy-gurdy. This is actually what a hurdy-gurdy is. The hurdy-gurdy is often considered one of the ancestors of the street organ. It is a stringed instrument that produces sound by a hand-cranked wheel rubbing against the strings, similar to a violin bow. Hurdy-gurdies were played by musicians and were popular entertainment devices. Today, the hurdy-gurdy is often confused with the hand-cranked street organ, with the organs incorrectly referred to as hurdy-gurdies. We were talking prior to us starting this evening about a gentleman who used to play the street organ in Boston. His name is Tony Lupo, and he actually had monkeys. He performed with monkeys. But his business was called Hurdy-Gurdy Monkey and Me. And again, it's misnamed because he wasn't playing a hurdy-gurdy. He was actually playing a street organ. So then you get the pipe organ. Pipe organs, which had been used in churches since ancient times, also played a role in the development of the street organ. While pipe organs were large and stationary instruments, their mechanical principles, such as air pressure and keyboard mechanisms, likely inspired early organ builders to create portable, hand-cranked versions for street performance. Now, what's really important about these two pictures that you see here is the second person. The second person in each picture is working a bellows, and that is what's providing the air for the organ itself. This is actually a pipe organ from a pipe organ that was used in a church in Gloucester for a lot of years. They were getting rid of all these pipes, and I said, yes, give me one. But, you know, it is basically the same. You know, you need a lot of air to move through this. This is similar to what is in this organ. And the pipes are, you know, very much the same, just varying in size. And the way it works in terms of tuning is at the bottom of both, you'll notice pegs, and the pegs are moved up and down through the pipe, and that gives you different notes. The medieval instruments provided the foundation for the development of the hand-cranked street organ, which emerged in its recognizable form during the Renaissance and Baroque periods. Over time, advancements in mechanical engineering and musical technology led to the creation of more sophisticated street organs capable of playing a wide range of music, culminating in the elaborate instruments of the 18th and 19th centuries. And again, if you look at this, you have the boy on the side using bellows for the instrument. So, which brings us to the first round of Name That Tune. If you know it, call it out. Come on up. Come on up. What's your name?
Jenny.
Jenny. Jenny, you are now an organ grinder. You're going to turn it that way. Give her a big round of applause. Wait, Jenny. Okay. Thank you. Take some of the pressure off me. I think, I think part of the reason they used monkeys was so that they could get shoulder massages every now and then. I'm starting to believe that after I do this for a long time. All right, let's move on. So Renaissance and Baroque periods. During the Renaissance and Baroque periods, street organs became more sophisticated, incorporating mechanisms for playing different melodies and harmonies. They were popular entertainment devices and were often used in festivals, fairs, and celebrations. The hand-cranked street organ reached the peak of its popularity during the 18th and 19th centuries. Organ builders in cities like Paris, Amsterdam, and Vienna developed elaborate and ornate instruments capable of playing a wide range of music. These organs were often mounted on carts or carriages and played by street musicians who traveled from place to place. So here is where we sort of get a difference between barrel organs and street organs. What you're seeing here is what really would have been a barrel organ. It was cranked, but what was happening, and for lack of a better description, this is what a barrel organ would have been, because it has a barrel. And those barrels have pins that allow for the music.
Like a music box.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. And so the barrel organ, where am I? Let's see. So much like the hurdy-gurdy, the barrel organ is also confused with the street organ. The barrel organ consisted of a bellows and one or more ranks of pipes housed in a case, usually of wood, and often highly decorated. The pieces of music were encoded on barrels using metal pins or staples. These were similar, though quite larger, to the way in which small music boxes are made today. So this is a really old piece from a museum in Pennsylvania, and the barrels were really quite heavy. I mean, really heavy. So you wouldn't get it's not something that you would bring around and was portable. The barrel would be very heavy and cumbersome. So you maybe have 2, maybe 3 with you. And those could be swapped out. So that's where we go from barrels to paper rolls. Not long after barrel organs first appeared, they were improved upon and became more like the player pianos who would come to know today. A paper cylinder with punches would be inserted into the organ, and these holes told the organ pipes what notes to play. The improvement came in the paper rolls being lighter than the barrels, making the ability to change the paper rolls as opposed to the barrels far easier. So, as I said, this is what the paper rolls would have been, and you would have had these holes in the paper tell the organ when to open and close the valves and on what note. You would have probably either one song per roll, or if it's a medley, there would be a medley on a roll. But that's it. So you would carry, you would have a cart that would house 20 or 30 rolls, and you would bring them with you. Now, this instrument is not a paper roll playing instrument. I have one at home that is 32 notes, and it plays paper rolls, but it also plays the same thing that this plays. Rather than paper rolls, I have all the music on this, on a chip. So that allows me to carry around 200 plus tunes. So the other thing that you're limited, only thing that you're really limited by in terms of this, you don't have to carry around the paper rolls, but the only thing you are limited by is the 20-note scale, because if it's outside that 20-note scale, it's not going to play the piece of music. So you're really limited in a lot of ways. What is really odd, as when I first got this, I started, seeing what pieces of music I could find that would play on it. And there are some really great Mozart pieces, some that don't play at all, but some that sound just right on something like this. But I can tell you, nearly every piece of really hard rock plays beautifully on this. Strangely enough. It just does, and I think it's because the scales that they use is very limited, And you know, it lends itself to this. Let's see. All right, so Liberty Bell, John Philip Sousa. This is a really good piece, and it is, in a way, a name that tune, because we will see if you know what Liberty Bell comes from, what Liberty Bell was used for. No. Do you know it? Yeah, come on up. Monty Python's Flying Circus. Yeah. You got to be consistent, man. You play until the monkey claps. I don't think they used the whole piece for Monty Python.
The more played, the more the monkey collected.
I know, all right? Oh, hold on. All right. So yes, that was used for Monty Python's Flying Circus. And I do have
This machine, can I ask you
this. Yeah, absolutely. So, so this is exactly 21 years old. I got it the year my son was born, so he's 21 now.
Were they using the chips back then? No.
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
Oh yeah, this came like this. So the history on this one is Alan Pell built it. Alan Pell would build organs like this all the way up to church organs. And one day he decided, sod that, I'm going to open a fish and chips truck. And that's exactly what he did. That's it. Fish and chips truck. He still owns a double deck, one of those traditional London double decker red buses, and he sells fish and chips. And he gave this up. So probably about halfway through its life, I went to reach out to Alan Pell to see if I could, because originally what it had was, rather than a chip, it took cartridges. So I wanted to see if I could get it transferred over into a chip. Found out Alan Pell's selling fish and chips now. But one of the people that worked with him and mentored with him, he mentored, Rob Barker, started his own business. So I sent this off to him, and he kind of refurbished it. Originally, these pieces of wood here that sort of create a V weren't there. So the pipes, when they would come loose, they would kind of just, fall or look sideways and, bent over. And so he put the chip in, retuned it, and then put these in to make it look pretty. But yeah, this is This is 21 years old. It's not that old. It really isn't, but it's still in really great condition. It really is.
What kind of wood is it?
Walnut.
Walnut.
Yeah, yeah, walnut, all inlaid wood. Yeah, Alan Pell did beautiful work. Did beautiful work. He did what was the most amazing thing, and I wish I had video of it. What was the most amazing thing is he took a barrel, and around the barrel he put beer bottles and used them as sort of a xylophone. So the beer bottles would make the music. So it would play all sorts of different tunes, but it was all beer bottle based. Really, really clever guy, really clever guy. Let's get another tune in here.
So we're looking at the back of it?
You're looking at the front of it.
Oh, because that piece that you put up looks very ornate.
Over here?
No, the one that's right in your ear.
Oh, this is the top. Yeah, this is the top. Yep. What?
A little bit of luck.
From?
My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady, come on up.
I can't come up just to do that. I can't.
Okay.
Crank it for me,
Okay. No monkey this time. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's move on. The Industrial Revolution brought significant advancements in the manufacturing of street organs. Mass production techniques allowed for the production of more affordable organs, making them accessible to a wider audience. Advancements in manufacturing, industrialization, expansion of market reach, and competition from new technologies ultimately led to the street organ's decline and then adaptation. Overall, the Industrial Revolution both propelled the development of hand-cranked street organs through advancements in manufacturing and technology, while also posing challenges to their continued relevance in the face of evolving entertainment trends. So this is where we get into the meat of the matter: the street organ and Italian-American culture. How many Italian Americans do we have in the room tonight? Okay, good. Like I said, it was something my father had, and there is a clear connection between the street organ and Italian Americans. The connection between the history of the hand-cranked street organ and Italian-American culture is multifaceted and rooted in immigration, cultural exchange, and community traditions. Italian immigrants played a significant role in the development and popularization of hand-cranked street organs in the United States. Many Italian immigrants who arrived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries brought with them skills in organ building and music performance. They settled in urban areas such as New York City, Boston, Chicago, and Philadelphia, where they continued their tradition of street performance and organ craftsmanship. This actually is a picture of a organ grinder, an Italian organ grinder in early 20th century London, actually. Italian immigrants contributed to the organ building tradition in America, establishing workshops and businesses dedicated to the construction, repair, and maintenance of street organs. These craftsmen often passed down their skills and knowledge through family and apprenticeships, preserving and evolving the art of organ building within Italian American communities. An organ grinder and his monkey amusing the children in a courtyard, 1925. So that is actually in New York in the tenement areas. Oh, name that tune, Italian edition. All right. Traditional Italian song. No? Got nothing? No? Bella Ciao. Bella Ciao? You don't know Bella Ciao? No? That is Bella Ciao. Apparently, I guess I'm the only person in the room that knew it. Giuseppe, you know it? He does. He knew it. Okay. Italian-American organ grinders became a familiar sight in cities across the United States, particularly in immigrant neighborhoods. They would often accompany their street organ performances with traditional Italian music, creating a sense of cultural continuity and community connection for both Italian immigrants and other residents. Another early 20th century photograph from New York City. The presence of Italian organ grinders and their street organs facilitated cultural exchange between Italian-American communities and the broader society. Their performances introduced Americans to Italian music, dance, and traditions, helping to shape perceptions of Italian culture in the United States. Hand-cranked street organs and organ grinders have become enduring symbols of Italian-American culture, appearing in literature, film, and visual art as emblematic representations of immigrant experiences in urban life. They evoke nostalgia for a bygone era while also serving as reminders of the resilience and creativity of immigrant communities. So until the invention of the phonograph and radio, the organ grinders brought the only music that many people, especially the poorer folks in cities, heard. That is why illustrations of organ grinders often show children or adults dancing around him. It might not have been great music by today's audio standards, but it was a rare and desired commodity for many in those days. People gave the organ grinder coins to show their appreciation, and many Italian-American immigrants fed their families through organ grinding. So sometime in the mid-1800s, immigrant organ grinders started showing up in the US cities as well. The first mention of a local man and monkey team was in the October 8th, 1884 edition of the Washington Post. The paper, which in those days sometimes sought to entertain readers with mockery of immigrants, related a tale of an Italian organ grinder and his, quote, red-coated monkey who walked into the deaf and dumb asylum at 6th and M Streets, not realizing that the inhabitants would be unable to hear his music. Apparently, though, the residents enjoyed the monkey's antics because he left enriched with many coppers. So this is a picture drawing of street music, called The Organ Grinder. New York City, 10-minute life from Harper's Weekly, November 17th, 1866. Okay, here we go. No. Nobody wants to call it out anymore because they don't want to grind the organ. In the mood. Come on up.
Sorry, I came.
Oh. Come on.
All I'm afraid for.
Go ahead.
What's the name of
I
it?
thought I was.
In the mood.
I thought I was finished with my physical therapy.
No, you were wrong. You were wrong. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you very much. All right, enough of that. So let's see, where are we? So what's the deal with the monkey? What's the deal, Giuseppe? All right. Although the use of any animal would help attract attention, the monkey was often used because he had a thumb and could carry a cup to collect coins. Training the monkey to do this often involved what we would consider today to be cruel methods. However, it was possible for a man to support his family with enough hours on the street. I don't, as I said, Tony Lupo, who was probably the last organ grinder in Boston, which I had tried to get him here tonight because he still lives in the area. He was grandfathered in. The laws changed about the use of animals on the streets of Boston. And because he had been using his monkeys for so long, he was grandfathered in. So he used his monkeys and performed with them until which time he decided it was time for them to retire. So he actually traveled to Florida, and they spent their retirement years in a animal sanctuary in Florida. So yeah, it's a good story.
City Ordinance 47B prohibits the playing of any musical instrument in a public place for the purpose of commercial enterprise without a license. I don't understand. It is against the law for you to play your musical instrument.
The law? What? You
say is against the law?
Yes, unless you have a proper license.
What kind of license?
A license that permits the playing of any musical instrument in a public place for the purpose of commercial enterprise.
Commercial enterprise?
Yes. You play that thing and people give you the money.
People give the monkey the money.
It is a sign.
Oh, not at all, monsieur. I am a musician, and the monkey is a businessman. He doesn't care. I don't tell him what to do with his money.
Monsieur, don't try to be funny with me. He is your monkey, therefore it is your money.
He lives with me, but he is not my monkey. One day I came home and I found him sitting in the living room. I let him stay, but he pays for his own room and board.
As a monkey is breaking the law.
But he doesn't play any musical instrument.
City Ordinance 132R prohibits the begging.
How do you know so much about city ordinances?
What sort of stupid question is that? Are you blind?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Well, you happen to be talking to a police officer. And because I expect to be transferred back to the detective division at any moment, I will let you transfer with just a warning.
Thank you, Monsieur Argent.
But you must get yourself a proper license.
First thing tomorrow.
Try to do something about your filthy monkey.
Okay, so not everybody was a fan of the street organ. George Orwell, not everyone loved street organs or their music. In an article from 1929, George Orwell wrote of the organ grinders of London to ask, quote, "To ask outright for money is a crime, yet it is perfectly legal to annoy one's fellow citizens by pretending to entertain them. Their dreadful music is the result of a purely mechanical gesture, and is only intended to keep them on the right side of the law." Charles, not a fan either, Dickens. Charles Dickens wrote to a friend that he could not write for more than a half hour without being disturbed by the most excruciating sounds imaginable coming in from barrel organs on the street. Charles, and don't get me started, Babbage. 19th century mathematician Charles Babbage was a particularly virulent enemy of the organ grinders. He would chase them around town, complain to authorities about their noisy presence, and forever ask the police to arrest them. But none of them top Fiorello LaGuardia. In a 2006 article about organ grinding, the Chicago Tribune pointed out that, quote, "Few people reserved such special loathing for organ grinders as Fiorello LaGuardia, who became mayor of New York in 1934. It was LaGuardia who, in 1935, this is a year after he was voted into office, 1 year after he was voted into office, he placed a ban on the street organ in New York. His reasoning was twofold, one public and one private. He highlighted his public reasoning in his autobiography. Quote, "My answer to my critics was that there had been a time when the hurdy-gurdy," using the wrong term, "was the only means of bringing music to many people. That was also the time before automobiles filled our streets. With the advent of the phonograph and the radio, that time has passed. Free public concerts in parks, libraries, museums, and other places had given ample opportunity to hear music. But more important, traffic conditions had changed. Children were endangered by trucks and other automobiles when they gathered in the middle of streets to hear and watch the organ grinders. Also, the simple, sentimental, hurdy-gurdy man had become the victim of a racket. My sentimental correspondents did not realize that the Italians' instruments were rented to them by padrones at exorbitant fees. Their licenses from the city were in reality licenses to beg. Oh, yeah, yeah. So his private reasoning for banning the instruments, that was his public reasoning. His private reasoning for banning the instrument from the streets was far more personal. LaGuardia was the son of an immigrant cornetist who raised him Episcopalian and far from the slums of Five Points, New York. He was in grade school on an Arizona Army base when he first encountered prejudice against Italian Americans. It arrived in the form of an organ grinder. I can still hear their cries, he wrote later in his memoirs. Hey, Fiorello, you're a Dago too. Where's your monkey? And it was ultimately, this Italian-American stereotype that LaGuardia would attempt to expunge through his band of the street organ. The repercussions of his ban was like a tidal wave, starting in New York, stretching along the East Coast, and ultimately all over the United States. An unfortunate consequence was the destruction of hundreds of organs, the barrels of which contained a record of popular music of the day. Before the invention of the cylinder record player, this was the only permanent recording of these tunes. The ban acted as a tidal wave, as New York was the pivot point for the repair and building of the instruments for cities like Boston, Chicago, and Philadelphia. In New York, street organ business came to a grinding halt, no pun intended, and with nowhere to source parts, builders, or repairs began to disappear from the streets of other cities as well. The law that banned barrel organs in New York was repealed in 1975, but that mode of musical performance had become obsolete by then. So really, ultimately what happened is the ban, stopped all business in New York, and New York was the place to go, even if you were in Chicago, to get parts, to get repairs, whatever. And once New York dried up, everything dried up. And it was a sad state of affairs. So this is February 20th, 1896 in the tenement section of New York. And that actually would be a barrel organ. So, that is actually the history of the hand crank street organ. I'll play a few more tunes. Does anybody have any questions before I do? Yes, no, maybe so? Yeah?
How long would one play before you move on to a different location?
They would stake out their location and stay there for the day.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. 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 What was, LaGuardia had some points. One of which was, there was a time when you couldn't go 10, 20 feet without hitting another organ. And then another 10, 20 feet, another organ. It was like, there were a lot of them. Which, given the ban, the destruction of all these instruments, there must have been so many of them that just got destroyed because the band said no more. So yeah, they would stake out their spot and kind of stick to it.
And there weren't problems with the monkeys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there were real problems with the monkeys, but you don't have the same sort of dissemination of information that you do now. Like, you know, if a monkey bit somebody out on the street right now, it'd be all over the internet within 20 minutes, you know. But back then, you know, these are very, very isolated incidents that happen. And, you know, it's just word of mouth. I mean, you know, who's to say what happened? So, yeah, there were incidents with monkeys. Absolutely. Absolutely. Monkeys biting people, monkeys stealing the money, you know.
When I was a kid, I don't remember an organ player, but I do remember the ice cream man that came by in East Boston. He had a monkey.
Did he really?
He did.
Wow.
Every now and again, he would come by and he'd have this monkey, and we'd all go, "Oh, he's got the monkey."
Wow.
And I'm like, when I look back at it now, we're like, wow, just like that.
Yeah, right.
Well, that just wouldn't fly today.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
So if they must have had an emotional support animal jacket, could they have them now?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. That's a loophole. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of being sarcastic.
No, but I think, but yeah, I mean, they get used for that, so, you know, who's to say? Who's to say? Yeah.
Were some of the monkeys trained to be pickpockets?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I don't doubt it. I really don't doubt it. You know, it's a fine line between street performing and swindling, as my friend Sean and I know all too well. There's a fine line there, and I can't imagine that monkeys weren't trained to do that. And the question is, how did they train them to do that? It was probably pretty ugly.
I had a question. Before I came here tonight, I told my husband I was coming to see you. And he said, I've heard this expression before, but he didn't know what it meant. You could have looked it up, but I'm wondering if you know. He said, what's an organ grinder monkey syndrome?
Geez, I don't know.
Oh, okay. He said it's a thing he's heard before.
I've never heard that term. No, I've never heard that term.
Okay.
No, it's a new one on me. Organ monkey grinder organ
Grinder monkey syndrome.
monkey syndrome. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah, that's a new one on me.
Oh, I just looked it up.
Oh, my God.
What? Really?
Well, it's
Really?
an organ grinder monkey, and it just came up as an idiom that describes someone who acts for someone more powerful but has no real power themselves.
He said something. Wow. Okay.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, it's a new one on me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you want, I'm here to chit chat if you want to ask me other questions. But thank you very much for coming out tonight. I do have information sheets about the street organ and Italian-American history, and I do have business cards up there. Like I said, in addition to street organ grinding, I also do. I'm also a magician. So yeah, please take my card, and thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That